Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, special edition of On Texas Football. Our friends over at PFF have come out with their ranking their 101 best overall players from the 2025 season. We want to look at those rankings and see where the Longhorns are represented on that list. We'll do that on this episode of On Texas Football. It's brought to you by our friends over at Von Lane. We'll tell you about Von Lane a little bit later on in the program. But I am joined by lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy CJ Vogel, and my good friend, esteemed colleague, Jeff Howe. I'm not sure I introduced myself, but I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. All right, gentlemen, let's get right to it. Pro Football Focus, very controversial, algorithms they have to rank players and obviously to chart plays. And they came out with their 101 top ranked players based on their own Pro Football Focus numbers from 2025, guys. And let's start with the first Longhorn, at least the highest ranked Longhorn on this list. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree. This guy should have been the highest ranked Longhorn in terms of their overall Pro Football Focus grade from 2025. Michael Taff. Taff Daddy. What are y'all thoughts? CJ, you first. Michael Taff. They had him 48th overall among the top 101 best players. He is first team all SEC, so all conference player, all American as well. Greatest walk-on story in the history of Texas football. Is he too high, too low? What are our thoughts about that? Should he have been the highest ranked Longhorn?
I don't know if he should have been the highest ranked Longhorn. I think Michael Taff had a good season. I thought it faded a bit towards the back end of the year. But look, when you're an All-American in 2024, you go into 2025 and you receive more All-American acclaim. You did something well, right? You're playing amongst the best at your position in the entire country. Still, I thought that was a little high, given that especially towards the back end, Georgia, Arkansas games, it wasn't necessarily his best performances. And that's kind of what you remember him by, especially towards the late end of the year when you're pushing for the playoff. But altogether, just a tad high for me. Jeff, what say you?
Yeah, I know the coverage grade was really high for safeties. His grade was high, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't, as he had a good year, to CJ's point, I just didn't feel like he was as impactful in 25 as he was in 24.
Good point.
It just seemed like he was around the ball more. He made more plays. I think in terms of PFF, the interceptions are going to add up. And when we know, like, playing as much middle field safety as he did, you don't have a lot of man-to-man coverage responsibilities anyway. So I don't know if that skews it a little bit, but he had a good year. I'm taking nothing away from Michael Taff. To answer the question, right, I don't feel like he should have been the highest ranked Longhorn on this list.
Ended up being a 7th in the nation in coverage grade, to your point, Jeff. So really high coverage grade numbers. There's no doubt. And basically, I think he was the 6th safety when I went back and counted up all the safety they had ranked, 6th safety. So, I mean, Michael Taff, I think he had a better 24 than 25. And I do think the burden of having to be the top communicator and the facilitator in that secondary, I do think that slowed him down a little bit too. Just being, you guys talking about making some of those impacts. I think that slowed him down a little bit too, because when he had Makuba back there with him and Janae Barron, I mean, he didn't have to be the master communicator. He just had to make sure he was doing his job, make sure everybody was lined up. And what I still like Taff is being that eraser on that back end, try to keep them out of bad plays. The problem was this season, they had a lot of busts back there. And he's supposed to be the guy that's the air traffic controller, and they were not necessarily always in the right place.
What helped him out too were the interceptions, because the 2 interceptions, he did give up a touchdown. Just looking at, individually how he graded, just in terms of coverage. And again, this is what PFF had him down for. 12 receptions allowed on 18 targets, 100 yards, 56 yards after the catch, along with 28. Did give up a touchdown, but 2 interceptions and an NFL passer rating allowed at 59.7. But again, with his role in the Texas defense, Rod, it might skew it a little bit just because he wasn't solely responsible for guys in coverage all the time.
Yep.
At least that's the way it seemed.
Yep. All right. So he's at 48, and after him is probably the guy a lot of people thought would be the highest ranked Longhorn on this 101 best players list from Pro Football Focus. Arch Manning. He got him at 50, guys. They got him at 50. I think he's the 9th quarterback on this list in terms of 9th highest ranked quarterback on this list. So they got him as a top 10 QB overall, basically. All right, so where are we in our Arch Manning ranking here, or at least what's our opinion of their ranking of Arch Manning? Too high, too low? He's just right. Jeff, what's your thought?
I think it's just right because I think you're splitting the difference between a guy who early in the year was not very good, especially that game against UTEP. But again, and PFF mentions it when ranking him from week 9 on, graded out 89.5. That PFF grade ranked 6th among all quarterbacks in the country. You know, CJ, we just saw a guy again, like to see the guy that we saw against Vanderbilt and Arkansas and A&M and Michigan, to think that that guy was the same guy that was on the field against UTEP early in the year.
Right.
That speaks to Arch handling the adversity, persevering, working hard. And eventually, once he got his feet wet and kind of got his bearings about him, the talent started to show out.
Yeah, absolutely. And y'all have been doing this a lot longer than I have, right? Covering Texas, covering football, being around seasons worth of, development. To me, the beginning of Arch in 2025 to the end of Arch is one of the single greatest seasons of individual growth that I've seen from a Texas Longhorn. Again, I don't know where that falls for you guys, but it was night and day difference from a guy that couldn't complete an underneath slant route or crossing route to against Ohio State to being far and away the best player on the field against Michigan in the bowl game. So it was clear as day to me that something clicked to him.
Yeah.
But I also go back to a couple of the losses, right? And you put Ohio State away, first career start on the road. It wasn't a great environment, but that Florida game, that to me looked like, okay, he's trying, right? He's going all out, and there just wasn't a lot of help for him, right? Yeah. Against Georgia, I thought he had a really solid showing, and the 10 points probably wasn't just, it didn't do him any justice in the sense that there was probably, 4 or 5 drops.
Oh, yeah.
That we saw down the field. The score nearly tripled in the time it took for him to touch the ball again. So that was frustrating. But altogether, I thought from day one, week 1, to what we ended up seeing the final game of the year, he was a different player.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about those last 5 games, I'm with you. That's when he really started to play with confidence. I would even say play with swagger. To play with swagger out there. And what do you have? Was it 16 total touchdowns, 1 interception in the last 5 games? I think 5 sacks over the last 5 games. He was just phenomenal. So I agree with you guys. I mean, he was the identity. You said it, Jeff, plenty of times. We were searching for the identity of the Texas offense all season long. Turns out it's just Arch.
Arch is the play.
Arch is the play, baby. That's it. All right, moving on. Yeah, I think they got Arch right, actually. I think they got him right. Top 10 quarterback, the way he played at the end of the season. And they got him right at 50, right in the middle of this list. All right, moving on here. Now, this one is going to be controversial. Ain't no doubt. They got Colin Simmons, 12 sacks in this season. He was the SEC leader in sacks. And they have him at number 65, gentlemen. 65, I think 9th best edge defender that I had when I counted down to Colin Simmons and where he was ranked, obviously in comparison to other edge defenders. All right, CJ, I'll start with you. Obviously, I know what you're thinking. It's too low. What are your thoughts about where they got Colin Simmons ranked at 65?
Yeah, it's too low. He's probably the best Longhorn that we saw on the field for 2025, and that accounts for the penalties, right? That was an issue. I won't beat around the bush with that. But look, I like PFF. I think there's a lot of value in some of the tools that they provide, a lot of the numbers, analytics, whatever you want to say. I think PFF is a valuable tool. But it's things like saying, hey, the SEC sack leader is the 65th best player in the country. That kind of gets me wondering, okay, how much stock do I really need to put in PFF, right? Yeah. But all together, that's the frustration for me because he's better than the 65th best player in the country. I think any list that has him outside the top 10 going into 2025 or 2026 needs to be reconsidered as well. But he's too impactful, but he produces too much, and he's too much of someone that opposing offenses have to kind of game plan against to be that low on this list.
Yeah.
All right, look, I'm with CJ. I love Pro Football Focus, right? And I get the metrics and the math and the variables used to come out with where he ranks and why you ranked him there. And Longhorn fans, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not even playing devil's advocate, just giving you some numbers here. CJ, you brought up penalties, 9 penalties. He was actually the second most penalized edge defender in college football last year, according to Pro Football Focus. His coverage grade, which again, that does factor into this, was a 56, which is not good. That said, again, Rod, your laughter is exactly where I'm going with this. I don't care what he grades in coverage. As a matter of fact, his coverage grade should be 0 because that's the number of snaps I want Colin Simmons dropping into coverage when he should be rushing the passer. There are not 65 players in college football better than Colin Simmons. There weren't last year. We know that. I understand what PFF is doing here, but as with a lot of things in life, I may get it, but I don't like it, and that doesn't make it right.
It don't match the eye test. That's all. Sometimes a Pro Football Focus grades, you go there to use it as a data point. You go, hey, that matches the eye test. I thought this guy was really good at forcing missed tackles, or I thought he was good in this situation. And then you're like, oh, 65th best player from 2025 and was the leader, as CJ said, in sacks in the SEC. So like you said, maybe they deduct it because of penalties and other things, and their formula is their formula. I do respect it. But yeah, man, that don't match the eye test. My football eyes tell me there ain't 64 players better than Colin Simmons in college football. And they know that too. Sometimes I think they troll Texas on purpose because they know Texas fans will get agitated and they'll give them clicks. They'll start giving them impressions because they're saying, what? Look at this. They start sending it to other Texas fans.
Texas fans are the fish in the pond that bite on every hook, Rod.
Exactly. I truly believe that. I think remember they used to, back in the day, they would always mix up
the Bijan Robinson, Deshaun Jameson bit. Yeah.
It's like they gotta be doing it. They're a data company. You're a data company. How you inaccurate on the photo multiple times, like 5 times? Like it was crazy. Anyway, sorry, random tangent. All right, getting back to it. Number 68 on this list, right after Colin Simmons, Trevor Goulby. First team All SEC player, and a lot expected from Trevor Goulby. What are your thoughts about this one, CJ? Starting with you, Trevor Goulby. Got him too high, too low at 68. I believe he is 8th at the 8th tackle that they have listed, just to give you a little bit of context.
Yeah, I actually think that was pretty fair. And this might go against what I just said about Colin Simmons, but look, I know you're a first-team All-SEC tackle, but you were on a bad offensive line, and I think that drags down PFF grades quite a bit altogether. That was part of the frustration of the season, and I think, obviously, one part doesn't summarize the whole on the offensive line. Goulby obviously was very good, but it wasn't a clean year. I don't think it was anything super out of the ordinary when it comes to an offensive tackle. Again, very good year for Trevor Goulby. I think all Texas fans are sitting here saying, hey, he's about to be a first-round pick next year. But 68, that probably sounds about right for me. There's still room to grow for him in the run-blocking game. And altogether, I think it was a very solid year. And I think there's higher room for him to grow in 2026.
Jeff?
This is one of those deals where it's kind of like a group project in school where you may have done your job, but a couple other people didn't. So like you would have passed, but like you failed the class as a whole. Like Texas offensive line didn't live up to any kind of expectations this year. I don't think met any internal expectations, but Trevor Goulby on his own, it doesn't override that, but that should stand out because he was really good. And if you look at, again, why PFF ranked him where they did, they have a wins above replacement metric for offensive tackles. He finished the season 6th most valuable offensive tackle in the country, was an 80-plus grader as both a pass blocker and a run blocker. So a lot of times Trevor Goulby was doing his job. He did his job on the group project, but because a couple other people might have taken advantage of that attendance policy and skipped a class or two, you ended up failing the project even though you did your job.
I like that analogy. Well done. Well said there. Trevor Goulby, his ceiling is tremendous. Got a ton of upside. His athleticism, when he goes to the combine and works out, whatever that happens, he's going to increase his draft stock a ton because he's just a physical freak athletically. So I think you're right. I think that's fair for Trevor Goulby considering the pieces around him. the O-line as a whole, Jeff. All right, little bonus here before we get out of here. Rasheen Biles, he was not on the Texas team, of course, but they did rank him 90th, and I was like, that's too low. I can tell you right now, watching that dude's film, I don't even know where he should be ranked. 90th best player in college football? Nah, too low.
I like that take, Rod. And again, we talked about it a little. We saw it with obviously 3 years of Anthony Hill. We've seen bits and pieces of it with Anthony Smith as he's kind of grown and become more important piece of this defense. But when you have a guy in the middle of your field that is just a havoc creator and generates negative plays, whether it's in coverage, blitzing the quarterback, in tackles with strips and fumble recoveries, that guy is so valuable to your team. When you can have two of those guys in the middle of your defense, yeah, I think that defense is going to be a lot of fun next year with Biles and Anthony Smith, plus Tyler Atkinson. We'll see, what a Cryer could provide. But altogether, that's really exciting.
We talked about it on Football Theory, Rod. The only season by a Texas linebacker in the PFF era I can compare to what Rasheen Biles did this year was 2014 Jordan Hicks. It was that good. And I'll tell you what, for the 26 season, I'm going to get me a conductor hat because I'm selling tickets on the Rasheen Biles train. And I'm telling you, if you haven't bought your ticket yet, that train is filling up. So go ahead and pay up. And hey, Rod and I, CJ, I think you're on board with us. Go ahead and jump on board. There's still some room left. Don't get left at the station watching us pull away.
Yep, I got a good seat on that thing. I got on real early. Got a good seat on that Rasheen Biles hype train. All right, thank you guys. Great stuff. Let's thank our sponsor, Von Lane, but one more time before we get out of here. Folks, when it comes to regional travel, hey, time matters, all right? And comfort matters as well. That's why the professionals are choosing Von Lane for all their business trip, conferences, and meetings. With Von Lane, there's no airport chaos or stress, no long drive to wear you out or dealing with road rage and traffic. No, you board quickly at a private hotel terminal. You board within minutes, and you get complimentary snacks, beverages. Also, you get complimentary Wi-Fi as well, so you can get some work done. With over 20, they got 22 first-class leather seats. You can relax and recline and just enjoy the ride, or you can be productive on the ride. Either one. Our friends over at Von Lane also are upgrading the entire fleet with Starlink internet across the entire fleet, which means now your Wi-Fi is even faster and even more reliable. Von Lane serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Plano, the Woodlands, Nashville, Memphis, Atlanta, and Knoxville. And if you are chartering a group, you can actually get your own coach, your own Von Lane coach, and you can design the trip from pickup to drop off. Visit vonlane.com. That's VONLANE.com. And for first time riders, you can use the code OTF26 at checkout to save $20 off your first trip with Von Lane. Von Lane, that is your private jet on wheels. Thank you very much to our friends at Von Lane. Thank you, CJ. Great stuff as always. Jeff, I appreciate all of your expertise as well. Thanks to Matthew behind the scenes, and thanks to each and every one of you for watching and for listening. For Jeff and for CJ, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis. Until next time, hook 'em horns.